Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In this video, I will talk about how to get started in cybersecurity. I will talk about why I suggest cybersecurity as a career, what are my recommended courses, how to start learning, and which domain in cybersecurity you should choose to start in. So let's dive in. Alright, so getting started in cybersecurity. I wanted to do this presentation for a long time. The main driver is that people think that cybersecurity is difficult to get into. And whenever I am discussing careers with people, they usually ask me a question, how can they get started in cybersecurity? So I decided that I would like to create some sort of a guide to help people get into cybersecurity and adopt cybersecurity as a career. So we'll start with the agenda, who this presentation is for, the background of why cybersecurity, the roles in cybersecurity, how someone can get started, what do you need, the courses, the home lab setup, and the learning tips. So quickly, my name is Ahmed Salim Kasmani. I've been working professionally for the last 16 years. I've worked in different fields such as cybersecurity, software development, solution design, and consultancy, etc. I've been a hiring manager for a while and I have been hiring people as security analysts for some time now. In the last 2 years, I've hired more than 25 security analysts. I'm currently working in the field of security operations. I love to create stuff and break stuff, and I also enjoy swimming, watching movies and TV shows from time to time. So who this presentation is for? This presentation is for anyone who wants to adopt cybersecurity as a career or possibly would like to change from their current career into cybersecurity, or people who want to move to cybersecurity but who don't know where to start. There is something here for people who are already in cybersecurity as well. So why cybersecurity? Cybersecurity is an extremely technical field, and for some time there has been a big shortage in the market for quality cybersecurity professionals. I believe this is related to the fact that cybersecurity is not a very old field, in the sense that 20 or 25 years ago, there was not a lot of budget or investment in cybersecurity. At that time, cybersecurity was more like a hobby. And if you talk to some of the consultants who started working at that time, they never thought that they could adopt cybersecurity as a career. In fact, I was watching an interview today of someone who made $200,000 in the Zero Day Initiative, and he started working in security around 25 years ago in the 1990s. And he said that he never thought that he would have a career in cybersecurity. He always thought that he would be a software developer and he would have cybersecurity as a side hustle. Getting started and reaching an intermediate level is easy. Yeah, it is easy because the time that you spend learning, you get a lot out of it. So, for example, if you are currently working in IT, your skills are currently related to computer science. You just have to learn a few more things and you can easily start working in cybersecurity. If you are a software developer, you can start learning the basics of cybersecurity, work on some forensic tools, some red teaming tools, and all these require the mindset and skills of a developer with an understanding of cybersecurity. If you are in data science, there are a lot of data science and AI related problems being worked on in cybersecurity as well. Recently, I read an article that Microsoft is using the Bayesian statistics to detect attackers. A lot of work being done on malware identification is also using machine learning. If you are a sysadmin, you know how networks and Active Directories work. Again, you could do a course in ethical hacking or security operations and your skills will be easily transferred. Each and every domain, whether it is COVID-19 research, aeronautics, infrastructure, financial technology, every domain has some component of cybersecurity in it. It is also a vibrant community. There are a lot of free resources available to learn from and grow. So, what are the kind of roles that are available in cybersecurity? We'd start with an incident responder. An incident responder is someone who works on cybersecurity incidents. All the recent data breaches, the ransomware incidents, the compromises, they require an incident responder to work on it at one time or the other. Then you have the offensive side, which is penetration testing and red teaming. This is someone who works on testing the security of an organization. It can be a small part of an organization, such as an application or a network, or it can be attacking the whole organization to test the defenses. Of course, software development skills are required in this field of cybersecurity. Then we have governance, risk, and compliance. This is someone who's looking at the organization from a compliance and regulatory perspective. For example, if it's a hospital, it would need to be compliant with the HIPAA guidelines. If it's a financial solutions provider, then it will have to be compliant with PCI DSS guidelines. If it's a data processing company, then it will have to be compliant with GDPR guidelines. A forensics or a malware analyst is someone who tries to piece together what happened on a system by understanding the artifacts on the system. The malware analyst analyzes the malware code to understand the functionality and the target, and sometimes also understand who was trying to attack that system. So you get the picture. I can keep on going on and on. The important thing to understand here is that for every 1% hired as a penetration tester or a red teamer, or let's just say broadly in the offensive side of stuff, there are 4 to 5 people who are hired in the blue side. So if I was to suggest to someone where they should start in their cybersecurity career, I would suggest they start in the blue side, which is the defensive side. And certain roles which are related to the defensive side are security operations, threat hunting, incident response, and malware analysis and forensics analysis. So these are the kind of roles which are available in the defensive side. All right, so how to get started in cybersecurity? Finding something you like and enjoy. It is extremely important that you find something which you are interested in and you would like to do. For example, when I started my career in cybersecurity, I was working already in incident response or site recovery engineering, and for me to start working in cybersecurity, I wanted to move into a similar field. So I found that incident response was something similar, and therefore I moved there. Basically, for all the roles, the knowledge requirement is the same. If you want to start in cybersecurity, I would suggest that you start in the field or the domain or the company in which you are working in. Every company or every field, every domain has some sort of semblance of cybersecurity, and if you have the business knowledge or the domain knowledge of a field, it is it is very easy to understand how you can secure those systems. It is also important to look for quick wins. Use the cheap and free resources to get started. And this, in my opinion, is one of the points which is very, very seldomly discussed by people. If you start off in cybersecurity, you can easily get to a novice level without taking big courses or without spending a lot of money. So don't get stuck in trivial things. Don't think about the fact that I need to do this expensive course or I need to get this new computer for me to get started. Use the resources that are available to you right now and try to focus on cheap or free resources as much as possible to dive into cybersecurity. So if you talk about what you need a decent computer. Any decent computer is fine. Second-hand works as well. I have been using a second-hand computer in my lab for a while now. Basic computer skills are required. Learn to use the terminal or any kind of shell. These are the two books that I would recommend to you that you read. These are very, very simple and easy to read and easy to follow. Basic understanding of networking is required, because at the end of the day, cybersecurity is about securing devices which are somehow connected together. So you have an understanding of networking. It will help you understand the basic architecture of systems and how they connect together and how you can secure them. Virtualization is now everywhere. So most of the infrastructure in the world is running on virtual machines or Docker containers if you talk about the last 2 or 3 years. So it is important to understand how virtualization works. Building a lab is also important, as you need to have some sort of a safe place where you can experiment, try new things, reverse engineer things, etc., etc. I'll talk about the home lab in a later slide as well. In terms of basic networking, what you need to understand is what are IP addresses, what are ports, the different types of packets, the three-way handshake, and it is good to learn to use a packet sniffer such as Wireshark or TCP dump. There are some great tutorials available for Wireshark on YouTube, and on malware traffic analysis as well. There are great tutorials on how to set up Wireshark and to use Wireshark as well. The courses that I would recommend for someone to start in cybersecurity. Number one, if you are coming from a non-IT field, then I suggest that you start with this YouTube playlist, which is related to computer science basics. If you would like to start in security operations, then there is a core SOC skills training which is conducted by John Strand. There is a presentation scheduled to be held in May as well. And the best thing about these trainings is that they are pay what you can. I think the minimum amount that you can pay for these trainings is $20 and the maximum amount is $450. And John Strand, I think, runs it every month or every quarter or so. The second link is about F-Secure Attack Detection Fundamentals Workshop. Put here is for the 2020 presentation, but today I saw that they have released a 2021 version as well. CompTIA has also created some basic presentations and trainings related to security operations. A link to our training, and I've put that link there as well. If you want to get into malware analysis, then there are a lot of free resources. Some basic trainings are from Hashir Azaid. I've put the link here. Then there is something from Malware Unicorn as well. She has created a basic training for reverse engineering. If you want to get into some specific reverse engineering related trainings, then Maddie Stone from Google Project Zero has also created trainings on how to reverse engineer Android applications, and you can find a lot of material related to malware analysis on YouTube as well. Penetration testing, I've put a link to a training from Heath Adams. He has created a great getting started training on practical ethical hacking. It is a really good training and it's available from Udemy. Usually the price of this course is between $15 to $20 depending upon the time of the year you would like to get it. It's extremely cheap and you can start learning very, very quickly. For GRC, if you want to go into regulation and compliance, I would suggest that you go for the CISSP and CISA. But you have to understand that in order to get into GRC, you need to have some sort of an experience. Entry level jobs are very, very difficult and few and far between to come by. For the forensics, I would suggest that you take the course from John Strand, the security operations course, and study forensics on your own as well. Forensics is one of those domains in cybersecurity which is not that difficult to learn on your own if you use certain resources. For example, there is forensics posters available from SANS as well. In terms of the paid courses, I would recommend, I'm biased towards OSCP. They have launched a new version of OSCP which is called PWK365, which provides you 1 whole year of labs. I think it's around 2,200 or $2,300. Even if the course talks only about attack, when you learn attack tactics, it is very easy to learn the defense as well. Of course, these are the resources to get you started. There are a lot of expensive resources out there. I would suggest that until and unless you select a particular domain in cybersecurity, use the free and cheap resources. I also intend to create separate presentations for each role so that you can have a better idea how you can get started in those roles as well. In terms of a home lab, I would suggest that you use any virtualization software. For me, I bought a second-hand server from a local used computer shop, and I have installed ESXi on the box. You can use any virtualization technology. It can be VirtualBox, VMware, Parallels, etc. What you really need is a Windows workstation, a Windows server, and a couple of Linux virtual machines as well. Both the Windows workstation and server you can get those from the Microsoft website. I want to create a separate presentation on how you can set up your lab. If you already get the chance to take the course from Udemy for the ethical hacking, then that also has a great guide on setting up a home lab as well. For penetration testing, I would suggest that you start using Metasploitable to exploit. And then for web penetration testing, you have the damn vulnerable web application, you have the WebGoat, and you have the OWASP Juice Shop as well. In terms of malware analysis, FireEye has created a script which automatically creates a virtual machine. It's called the Flare VM, and it installs all the necessary tools required to get started in malware analysis. Of course, there are a lot of tools created every day, but these tools in the Flare VM are the ones which are most common and used most predominantly. I would recommend that you create an Active Directory environment. If you're not adept or you don't know how to create an Active Directory environment, then there are scripts available. I have put the link of a GitHub repository where scripts are available to create an automated lab. There is also a dedicated presentation by Jeff McJunkin on the creation of a home lab. The link again I have put here as well. Some recommendations on how I would suggest you use a home lab. Set up a basic lab first, take snapshots and add things slowly. Don't just install stuff without understanding anything. First try to understand the basics and install things slowly. Try to simulate attacks, run full cycles of attacks from reconnaissance to full domain takeover. Learn the defense and detection tactics as well. Most of the courses will teach you that, especially the security operations course will teach you that as well. Install security incident and event monitoring solutions like Splunk or Helk, which is an elastic based solution, and the new hotness, which is elastic security. I just installed the open source, I think it's open source elastic security EDR in my lab, which is really great and easy to use. I would also suggest that you try to identify and understand the attacks from the logs. After you go through the full cycle of attacking your own systems, you get the logs and the event logs together and try to piece together the information so that you have an idea of on how these attacks work and how you can detect them as well, and also tries to analyze the forensics artifacts. I have put this as optional, but learning programming for me is essential in any field, whether it is cybersecurity or not. Knowing to code has always been a superpower. It is now a superpower more than ever because you can easily solve or easily reduce the solution time to a trivial problem, right? So any programming language works, such as Python, C Sharp, or C. You don't need to be best. The quick and dirty solution to get the job done is fine to start with. Use programming to automate the trivial work that you have to do. Another important thing of why I recommend that you start learning programming is because once you start thinking like a programmer, it will help you understand how systems are built. A big part of how to attack something or how to defend something is based on understanding how a system is built and then trying to secure that system using that knowledge, or trying to break that system apart using the same knowledge. Other learning tips from my side is that start working on CTFs. There are Hack the Box and CTF Time and Valhub. Box provides virtual machines which are hosted on their platform and which you can start to hack ethically. They also provide a virtual machine which you can use to attack those boxes as well. In terms of YouTube, I would suggest that you start following IPSEC. He creates videos where he hacks the virtual machines which have been retired by Hack the Box. 13 Cubed usually creates tutorials related to forensics and malware analysis. OA Labs, again, they talk about malware analysis. Colin Hardy creates tutorials and interesting videos related to malware analysis and threat intelligence as well. In terms of Twitter, I would suggest that you follow the SANS instructors and the authors of the above channels, the YouTube channels. Other learning tips would be download the SANS posters. The SANS posters have a lot of details related to finding evil, forensics, artifacts, etc. etc. Giving interviews is a big part of learning, and I would suggest that as soon as you're ready to jump into the field, you start giving interviews and applying for jobs. The only thing that, of course, everybody fails in the initial stages when they start giving interviews. The only thing that I would recommend in that sense is that study the questions that you are not able to answer, so the next time those questions are thrown back at you, you are able to answer them. My philosophy in terms of failure is to learn from failure as much as possible. Try to not make the same mistake twice, and you should be good from there. So, this brings us to the end of the presentation. I went through the slide deck very quickly, and each and every slide in itself can have its own presentation. However, I try to create a concise guide as much as possible. Please put your questions in the comments below and I'll try to answer them as much as possible. The slides are available from this link, which I will put in the description below as well. And you can hit me up on Twitter at nalcharb and we can take the conversation there as well. Thank you very much for your time and I hope to see you in the next video.